Good morning and welcome to BIFA TV, your daily dose of industry information. Today we have a slightly different episode for you. We have with us today Ian Matheson, who has spent 40 years in journalism and the last 20 years supporting BIFA as it does all its PR work. Sadly for us, Ian is moving to some sort of semi-retirement. So I thought it would be good before he does that if we had a chance to chat to him about what's been going on in our industry for the past 20 years. So Ian, thanks for joining us today, and maybe start at the beginning. What was journalism like back those 20 years ago?
Well, there were a lot more printed publications. As you know, they're all dedicated to writing about the freight industry. We've got IFW, Containerisation International, Lloyd's Loading List, Freight News Express, the Handy Shipping Guide, Cargo Systems, Air Trade, British Shipper, Export Times.
I remember some of those.
All gone.
Yeah.
All gone.
Yeah.
Replaced by media that's now largely online, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and as well as LinkedIn and other social media platforms where everyone's a journalist these days, plus news roundups put together by analysts like Analytica and Transport Intelligence and Drury and others, and all these influencers that are now on the internet. And I mean, we've got so much information out there, haven't we?
In many ways, media has changed beyond recognition in those 20 years, isn't it? The way in which we consume and the way in which you produce it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's incredible. And over those 20 years, is there like one event that you think changed everything for our industry, or is there a number of things?
Well, I think it was slightly before I came into BIFA's orbit, 9/11.
Yeah,
Really,
yeah, internationally.
Yeah, I mean, that brought, you know, it was all about the security of the supply chain then, wasn't it? And that's what the media wanted to talk about. And then we had Brexit. Well, that changed everything, didn't it? Suddenly, everybody's talking about what's going to happen.
I think Brexit was good for our industry.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because obviously
put us on the table, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and it put you on the table in terms of the media, and we got so many more questions from the media. It was a nightmare, to be honest. You know, because they'd be phoning all hours.
I remember myself. Our industry went from the warehouse to the boardroom because everything was going to change, and everybody wanted to know what that impact was going to be. It's a really significant point for us.
And then we get this wonderful thing, COVID, don't we? Yeah. And how much did that change things? Freight forwarders were key workers, weren't they?
Yeah.
But that changed again. That changed everything, and it put freight in the spotlight, didn't it? So of course, Steve, COVID, Brexit. All these things, they've changed, the public's awareness of the logistics business more than anything else. Everyone overnight seemed to realise what a supply chain actually was, and it's opened the door really to the mainstream media. And now that door's open, they want BIFA's opinions. They want the opinions of your members, and it's incumbent upon Amanda, who's coming in to replace me, to make sure that door stays open and get those opinions across.
So what do you think journalists are interested in today? What is it that's exciting them right now?
What I've noticed is the conversations move from like efficiency to resilience. Years ago, as you know, Steve, the focus was on making supply chains simpler, faster, cheaper. Today, they're talking about, diversification, nearshoring, reshoring, inventory levels, geopolitical risk.
Yeah.
So, and of course, world events, they have an immediate impact, don't they, on freight and supply chains?
Certainly do.
And even in the time you've been DG, you've had the Middle East disruption, you've had sanctions, the war in Ukraine, tariffs, tensions between the US and China. These are all logistics stories, aren't they? That as much as political. Freight forwarding has become central to discussions about economic resilience and national security.
So let me just change the question a little bit. How's BIFA's approach to media changed in the last 20 years? What do you see as a difference in what we're doing?
Well, of course, when I started working for BIFA, most of the people covering logistics, writing about logistics, were the specialist transport journalists, and monthly trade magazines or weekly magazines, printed, of course, mostly. They set the agenda. A lot of company executives were basing company decisions on what they'd read in the media. Of course, today it's very different. You've got economic correspondents, political editors, environmental reporters, consumers affairs journalists. Data specialists all cover logistics because it affects inflation, trade, food security, and economic growth. And then you've got social media, of course, and 24-hour news where a disruption at a port or an airport, it's on the news 2 minutes after it's happened, and you've got to react immediately. So what I've seen, Steve, really is today BIFA is now working across a much broader mix of channels and audiences. You know, alongside the traditional media, we're still doing that. You're using digital platforms, social media, video, and online content to keep members informed and to raise awareness of what the freight forwarding industry is all about.
So finally, Ian, in all these years you've been doing this, is there some events or some stuff that's made you smile, made you chuckle, given us all a laugh? Recount some of those.
Oh, there's been loads. There's been loads because obviously it's a fun industry. The people in it are fun.
Yeah.
I always remember when I got a call from Simon Jack, the BBC transport correspondent, back in, I think it was New Year's Eve on 2020, when we sort of finally, the transition was over and we were leaving the EU. Wanted Bob Keane, the old Director General, to go down to Dover at 11 o'clock on New Year's Eve to film a really important special edition about everything was going to collapse going through the port of Dover. And he was really, really affronting when I said, I'm not even going to ask him because I know what the answer's going to be. The thing that most stick in my mind, because it took me a while to convince Bob Keane to do it, was to take a crystal ball to multimodal in 2017.
I remember that.
When he was speaking about Great Britain post-Brexit, what's going to happen. I got him to use a crystal ball to illustrate how little anybody really understood about the post-Brexit future. And I think it's a pretty good illustration of what we do and what we don't know about post-Brexit.
Crystal ball. Is there anything else you'd like to add for us?
Of course. I mean, I cut my teeth in this industry, whether it's journalism or PR, when today's news was literally tomorrow's fish and chip wrappings. You know, and today, of course, in the digital age, it's even more fleeting. It's today's click and tomorrow's forgotten tab, really. And that's something that my replacement, Amanda, will have to think about as she shapes BIFA's PR with you guys in the future. And I really want to wish her all the best. And I hope she has as good time working for BIFA as I've had. Yeah, good. Fun, laughter, and hard work.
Good. Well, Ian, thank you very much. It's been absolutely fascinating and interesting to talk to you this morning. Hopefully our members have got a flavour about what's been going on in your space in our industry for the last 20 years. And what can I say? Thank you very much on behalf of the association for all you've done. We wish you exceptionally well in your semi-retirement. I keep that well, and hopefully we'll keep in contact. Absolutely. And we'll meet at some of these events as we go through, because from my point of view, the 3.5 years I've been here, I've thoroughly enjoyed working with you, and I wish you well in all that you do. Thanks, Ian. That was BIFA TV, your daily dose of industry information.